Good morning, everybody. All you late people in the lobby, come in. Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Richmond. My name is Beth Mixovic, and it is my honor to serve on your board of directors. For those of you who are new to us and members and friends who are tuning in from near and far, welcome. We are so grateful to be able to connect with you. We are a community of many faith journeys and beliefs committed to being deliberately diverse and fully inclusive. We want you to know that whoever you are, you belong here. Our church was begun in 1833, and where is Pat Vaughn? I know I need to update this. She gave me a different date. As a liberal Christian community, we are now a community of many faith journeys and beliefs united in a single covenant of care. Through the years, we have struggled and often succeeded in the mission to seek personal wisdom, build beloved community, and serve the purpose of justice in the Richmond area. If you are a visitor here today, we are so glad that you found us, either physically here or online. We welcome you and thank you for spending some time with us, and we hope you will return again soon. Every service is a little different, our ministers are unique, and our music is ever-changing. The best way to discover who we are is to spend some time with us over several Sunday services and our Wednesday evening services as well. We encourage everyone to tune into these Sunday morning services 5 to 10 minutes early in order to catch the rolling announcements. This is a good way to stay informed about things that are important in our church community, and if you're relatively new, we also have multiple newsletters that come out from the church every week. Now, some announcements. The bathrooms up here are out of order, so you'll need to go down into the basement. Remember, we have an elevator or the steps right across the way from that. Everybody, I think, knows that we're having our annual meeting today, so there will be a short break between the service and the annual meeting to get set up, and the board is providing food to eat in between. And of course, I think there's going to be coffee too, I'm assuming. Okay, if you haven't had a chance to stop by the table to pick up your ballot, which is what you will use to vote, please do so before you hit the grub table. And please make sure that you turn your ballot in when we're done with the meeting. So, thank you.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Sherman Z. Logan, Jr., and it's my honor and privilege to serve this wonderful congregation as your senior minister. I'd like to welcome those of you in the Great Hall and those who are joining us virtually to our worship service this morning, and we are so glad that you're here. Joining me today on the chancel is our worship associate, Maggie Wow. And providing the ministry of music this morning are our singers, directed this morning by Reggie Henderson. We're going to have a good time this morning. All right. So it's a custom here at First UU that we invite our visitors to introduce themselves. So if you are joining us for the first, second, or 115,000th time, and as you're comfortable, we invite you to raise your hand, and the minister of the mic, Joel, this morning. Man, we got a lot of changes in here this morning.
I'm not going to run.
And he doesn't have his running shoes on, but he will come to you, and if you are willing, please stand and tell us who you are and where you're from. Are there any visitors? Got one here, Joel.
This is my first time here. I'm Eve, and I'm from Gloucester, Virginia.
Welcome.
Okay. Hi, I'm Anjali, and I am from New Jersey, actually, and I moved to Richmond about 2 years ago.
Welcome. Okay, Joel. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. This community is what it is because of your presence. So if you're willing, please rise and greet your neighbors and welcome our visitors.
Hi, I'm Autumn Fair, and this is Carol Dunlap and Rick Carr. Carol leads the Leadership Development Committee that Rick and I are on. And our committee works to identify and nominate leaders in our community for elected roles, but we also see the Ian Faison Service Award to recognize existing leaders. The award is given to a church member who has made an outstanding volunteer contribution to First UU over a sustained time or through a special project of great significance. Award recipients are recognized quarterly and given a personal chalice. We welcome nominations for this award, which you can submit through the Google form link in First News Weekly or by contacting any of us. Today, we're pleased to present the award for a very worthy recipient's service. Please join us in congratulating Sharon Amos. Some words that other church members use to describe Sharon are kind, compassionate, warm, steadfast, determined, and tenacious. She joined First UU around 2007, and she dove right into leadership because she wanted to be a part of creating our beloved community. And she was inspired by other committed leaders she had met here. Between 2009 and 19, she served as board secretary, VP, president, and past president, and today we will be nominating her to serve as president again. During a gap when she wasn't on the board, Sharon served on the nominating committee, which later became Leadership Development Committee. She was, in fact, on the committee when the Volunteer Chalice Award was reinstated and renamed to honor Ian Finlayson. Sharon said that a highlight of being a part of the board for so long was seeing great faith leadership modeled by amazing humans, including Denise Rimes, Diana Vincelli, Fricka Raycroft, Dorothy Holohan, Ann Joseph, Jim Armstrong, and of course, Reverend Jean and Reverend Sherman. Leave it to Sharon to thank everyone else for their leadership while being recognized for her own. Anne Marie McCartan shared that she was impressed with Sharon's leadership, particularly serving as board president when Reverend Jean was running for UUA president. She appreciated that Sharon was always well organized, but nonetheless welcomed digressions from the agenda when people needed to process issues collectively. Sharon has been involved with Living the Pledge workshops as a facilitator here and at other congregations. According to Wendy DeGroat, Sharon has also worked for racial justice at her workplace by educating colleagues, addressing inequitable systems, and creating opportunities. Sharon wanted to recognize Anita Lee and Annette Marquis for their pioneering efforts with that program, and Deborah Coleman for successfully translating the workshop to a virtual format during the pandemic years. Deborah stated that Sharon was a pleasure to work with and that her calmness and thoughtfulness often provided the chance to consider multiple points of view and to arrive at the best decisions for all. Sharon shared that being a part of the sanctuary team working with Abby Avarallo and her family was the biggest highlight of her experience at First UU. She's proud of the way we followed the direction of passionate young leaders to become a sanctuary congregation, and of the way the community came together to help Abby feel safe and loved, both before and during the pandemic. She admires the leadership of Abby and of Alex Gecker, also Flor Lopez, for showing her and all of us how to center the needs of those we support. She also appreciated learning through this work about the importance of building community relationships. Alex said that Sharon is a wonderful combination of highly competent and highly empathetic. She gets both the what and the how right, and the world needs more Sharons. Finally, Sharon credits the Ministerial Search Committee for helping her to reconnect with the church after the virtual years. Collaborating with that team reminded her of the power of a community working for good and of the love, commitment, and hope that exists in our congregation. Wendy worked with Sharon on this committee and said Sharon's a compassionate leader who's demonstrated time and again that she can be counted on to live our UU principles even when it's difficult and uncomfortable to do so. And Joseph agreed, stating that she's acted with the utmost integrity and always puts the interests of the church and the faith first. All of this makes it so clear why we are asking Sharon to serve again as board president, and why we weren't surprised when she readily said yes, despite work and personal obligations. Sharon, in recognition of your deep commitment to living this church's values, we present you with this symbolic chalice and a gift chalice as the 2022 recipient, of this quarter 2022 recipient of the Ian Finlayson Service Award.
We have a lot to do today, so I'll be really quick. I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate this honor in Ian Finlayson's name. I believe that he was the first person to greet Robert and I when we first arrived at this church, so wonderful to be honored in his name, and I appreciate that the committee shared so much of my appreciation for the work of this church. I have been so inspired and just blessed to be able to contribute to the visions of so many members here. We shape who we are as a community by what we choose to do together, by how we spend our time, treasure, and talent. And, you know, as we as a congregation are kind of turning a corner of a whole lot of transition, we don't know what's ahead. Is it straight away? Is it more curves? We don't know. But we have the opportunity to really think about what it is we do want to put our hands to, what we want to shape together. And I'm really excited about doing that with all of you. So thank you for this.
Also, I didn't mention that a new member of Leadership Development Committee is up here with us, Rashida Gray. Before we exit, the Leadership Development Committee would like to extend a thank you card and gallery gift certificate to two board members who have completed their full terms during a very challenging time, and those are Denise Rhymes and Suzanne Short. Will you come up if you're here for your cards? And Jay Clark will also be completing his term as well. And okay. Suzanne's in the President's Hall, so we'll get it to her. Thanks, Marty.
words this morning by the Reverend Andrew Lula. Come into this circle of community. Come into this sacred place. Be not tentative. Bring your whole self. Bring the joy that makes your heart sing. Bring your kindness and your compassion. Bring also your sorrow, your pain. Bring your brokenness, your disappointment. Spirit of love and mystery, help us to recognize the spark of the divine that resides within each of us. May we know the joy of wholeness. May we know the joy of being together. Come, let us enter into a time of worship.
As we light our chalice, may our breathing pause as we notice the slight moment when light delicately flutters before becoming full flame. May this moment of possibility be a risk-filled invitation to pour ourselves into the heat of curiosity, mischief, celebration, and delight.
Now please rise in body and in spirit and let us sing our opening hymn, 326, Let All the Beauty We Have Known.
Shades of delightful happiness. Happiness has varied shades of delight, some glad, some merry, some fun, some jovial, some romantic, some thrills, that brightens up my beautiful day, gives joy to the pleasures of the senses, flirting with magical nuances, dancing in the tapestry of life, singing a merry jingle or two, with a flight of twittering sparrows, smiling on tulips, pretty lips, vibrant colors of spring tides, happy in shades of symphony, flirting around in oceans of loveliness, waves that keep coming to the shores, I and my crazy being scampering, carefree and full of delight, clad in the shades of delightful happiness, changes the way I think of life. Happiness is within me, not outside. Took ages to unfurl this beautiful truth. No cares, no worries, no fears at all. I am in a state of joyous happiness.
my name is Guthrie Bowers, and I'm a member of the First UU's youth group, and we have chosen Art 180 as this month's recipient of Share the Plate. Art 180 is a registered 501c3 organization founded in 1998. They have offices, a youth arts center, and a gallery in Jackson Ward. Their mission is to be a collective of creative people cultivating the tools and strength we meet every moment, every trauma, and every triumph head-on. The vision is to build a future for this collective where freedom is a given, creativity is a lifestyle, and every moment can be met with presence and purpose. Some of the shared values of the collective are to use art as an amplifier, whether it be self-expression or political message, ensure everyone's voice is heard, take youth seriously, respect their voices and encourage them to lead, listen before speaking, and grow through listening, and to keep curiosity close. A financial gift will help support young people in the greater Richmond community with a safe space to channel their creativity and to help them realize their ability to express themselves with others through creative works. The offering will now be taken and greatly received. Thank you.
Thank you, Guthrie. Please look at the monitors of ways to give, and of course, you can give in person. We join together now in a time of meditation, reflection, and prayer. As we enter into a time of silence, may we remember the many connections that sustains and uplift us through this religious community. And as we enter a time of peace as silence brings, let us sit surrounded by these many visible and invisible connections that reminds us every day that we are not alone. Let us now enter into a time of silent meditation. Spirit of life, great mystery beyond our understanding, yet closer than our breath. Breathe into us your love so that we may love ourselves and others as you do. Help heal the fear, hate, and judgment that wounds so many. Help us know deeply and certainly that your love transcend all labels, categories, and words. Your love rains down on us all. Everyone is invited to the table. We each bring our whole and broken parts and come together in your love, which binds us and heals us all. May this be so. Amen. Ashe.
Humans' major object in all they do is happiness, and were it not for that, they never could have any other particular object. What would induce people to form societies, to be at the expense of supporting government, to acquire knowledge, to learn sciences, or till the earth if they believed they could be as happy without as with? The fact is, humans would not be the being that they now are, as there would be not any stimulus to action. They must become inert, therefore cease to be. As humans are never without this grand object, so they are never without their wants, which render such an object desirable. But their minor objects vary, according as their understandings vary, and their passions differ. Then says the objector, there is no such thing as disinterested benevolence.
One of my all-time favorite movies is The Pursuit of Happyness, a 2006 movie based on a true story of Chris Gardner. The movie shows the struggle that Chris Gardner, a single father, faced while trying to create a better life for him and his son. And I'm supposed some of you know the story or saw the movie. In that case, you know Chris eventually became an extremely successful, very wealthy stockbroker and philanthropist who gave back to the church that helped him when he was down on his luck and homeless. You know, Chris had a chaotic life and spent most of his childhood in and out foster care. As a teenager, he joined the Navy, and after his discharge, he became a medical supply salesperson, and he wasn't very successful. His relationships were also not successful. His marriage ended in a divorce, and another relationship, during which he had a son, ended when the child mother left him alone to care for the young son. Chris' life became more and more difficult, with one financial struggle after another, and eventually Chris was out of time and money, and he and his son were evicted from their home. They were homeless, bathing in public restrooms. He lost everything. But the one thing that turned out to be the most important thing to him was his son, and that relationship and commitment to caring for and providing for his son kept him growing. He wasn't aspiring to be wealthy so he could find happiness. He was pursuing happiness, which for him meant steady employment so that he could enjoy the one thing that made him truly happy, his son. The pursuit of happiness, isn't that our right as Americans? The pursuit of happiness. The Declaration of Independence says so. Is it just a pursuit, a possibility, a hope, a dream, or is it attainable? What is happiness? So there's a lot of talk about happiness, and in a poll in 2016, only 1 of 3 Americans claimed to be happy. And there was a song made popular by Bobby McFerrin a few years ago, and it's still being played today. You probably have heard it. It begins like this. Here's a little song I know. You might want to sing it note to note. Don't worry. Be happy. Y'all didn't know I could sing, did you? Don't worry, I'm not signing up for the singers. Don't worry about it. And a few years after that, after Bobby McFerrin hit, there was also a song by Pharrell Williams that I know you heard at least 1,000 times, and that was also Happy. And anytime that song was played on the radio, folks jumped out of their seats, tapped their toes, and hands clapped. And we all are in for a movie that have a happy ending. And some of you may be old enough to remember this, but one of the most all-time watched sitcoms was a 30-minute program called Happy Days. And for some of you young folks, look at Hulu or Prime Video, you might see it. So we all are obsessed with happiness. Perhaps we are wired to desire it. Maybe the desire for happiness isn't a bad thing. And one of the most influential universalist theologians of the 19th century, Hosea Ballou, passionately believed that it was our God-given right to be happy. In his most important theological work, A Treatise on Atonement, I had to read that during my preparation for UU ministry, and I recommend reading it whenever you have a case of insomnia. And I still made it through the MFC. And Ballou insisted that human beings are created to be fulfilled and happy. In his own words, there is a moral desire in every soul for future existence and happiness. For the truth of this assertion, I appeal to the conscience of my readers. Why should the Almighty implant this desire in us if he never intended us to satisfy it? Ballou believed that societies were built and communities were created because it made humans happy to do so. And in doing these things, we humans learn that we must be honest and cooperative, and that we must share the power and work for justice for all people. And when these things are done, then we know what love feels like. And so in Ballou's theology, we have the God-given right to be happy. God is love, and we are happy when we feel this love. And according to Ballou, human happiness is a mandate of our liberal faith. So if we are to believe Hosea Ballou that happiness is a mandate for our liberal faith and that it is our God-given right, why do we some have so much trouble attaining happiness? From our childhood, we've been taught to believe that in the possibility of personal happiness. Our society is structured in ways that our economic, societal, and family lives will maximize our individual happiness. However, in our pursuit of happiness, we devote much of our spiritual and emotional energy, and yet happiness at times eludes us. So perhaps one of the reasons we have so much trouble attaining happiness is perhaps we don't know what it is. So what is happiness? Well, happiness has been defined as an emotional state characterized by feelings of joy, satisfaction, contentment, and fulfillment. And while it has many different definitions, it is then described as involving emotion and life satisfaction. And everyone in life perceives happiness differently. As the late U.S. Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart said, happiness is like obscenity. We can define it, but we can't define it, but we know when we see it. Happiness is ambiguous, individual, and personal. It varies from person to person, and a combination of various emotions determine the quality of life. And no segment of the population has been excluded. And with studies showing that time and time again that social and economic division, such as income, education, intelligence, and religion, matter little in determining one's level of happiness. And researchers have pulled happiness apart every which way over the past century to establish a scientific basis to the fledgling field, but these efforts have been in vain. And relatedly, individually, happiness has been little affected by the broad cultural swings in our nation has experienced since World War I, boom or bust, war or peace, turmoil or tranquility, liberal or conservative in the White House. Americans' happiness has proven to be largely resilient to this constant shifting of our social and economic plates. Philosophers and religious thinkers have defined happiness in terms of living a flourishing life rather than a simply emotional feeling. So there are a lot of theories about true happiness, and people who equate happiness with material things, the latest, the greatest, the newest, the trendiest, would never be truly happy because there would be always more to the pursuit of happiness for them. And happiness and having a happy life doesn't mean that our lives will be devoid of real problems and pain. These are also a part and can contribute to our spiritual growth. But in my opinion, perhaps the most accurate way to define happiness is the feeling that exists inside of us when we can honestly say, hey, I'm happy when I feel happy. So how might you attain personal happiness? Or is it something we can pursue? Is happiness an inalienable right? In a blog post by William Meakin, he tells a story about a man who consistently searched in vain for happiness. His current lifestyle was not considered good. He was truculent in nature and carried a huge chip on his shoulders. He firmly believed that everything and everyone in life was against him. There was nothing specific, but the end result caused him to suffer from many problems, and he didn't know how to tackle them properly. He regularly saw happiness that existed in others and wanted to experience the same. He had a miserable and pessimistic outlook on life. He could not see the goodness in anything. His downfall was primarily caused by the possible misconception that happiness can be found if you search hard enough for it. However, many believe that happiness is not found, it is creative. So what I got from the story is if it's an intentional, conscious effort cannot achieve human happiness, and if we constantly and desperately seek happiness, it will elude us. So perhaps we can find happiness if we allow it to reveal itself at its own time and pace. Now for me, I know happiness comes at sometimes the most simple moments in my everyday life. There are times when my wife wakes up in the morning and the first thing she says to me is, "Good morning, honey, I love you." There are times when I make my wife happy when I unload the dishwasher or fold the laundry. And sometimes cook without her asking me to do so. The times when I call my mother on the way home from work, and before she hangs up, she tells me, "Son, be careful out there." And happiness also floods in the most expected times. The rare times when all 5 of my children and 6 of my grandchildren are together in the same place at the same time. Or the time when I get a text from my sister that said, "Hey, homie, how you doing today?" Or when Jamie select that perfect song for a worship service and we hadn't even talked about what I was preaching about. Those small, tender moments of connection with friends and loved ones are when we can live our lives to the fullest. And happiness is seldom dependent upon outward circumstances that our lives present. And we need to look inward into the state of our spirit. And by looking inward, we discover that happiness is the interior reality of our hearts. It is a psychological or spiritual state that can be quite independent of internal trappings of comfort, luxury, good health that may or may not come our way. But if we look inside of our spirits today, what are some of the things that might determine our happiness? Well, one thing that we can play a significant role in determining how happy we can be. You see, our attitudes, the action we take, and our freedom to make certain choices in our lives can contribute to our own measure of happiness. And beloveds, we are not powerless to make our lives happier or more joyful regardless of our circumstances. And while happiness is a matter of choice, and I'm not suggesting that we purposely choose to be unhappy, but in addition to happy moments in our lives, we also have to accept that bad stuff can and will happen regardless of the choices we make. Things will go wrong in our lives. We'll make bad choices that might lead to brokenness, darkness, and sadness, but it doesn't mean we must let these things take over our lives. And according to author Eric Weiner, happiness and unhappiness are not the opposites. They're not two sides of the same coin. They are different coins. So it's possible to be happy and sad simultaneously. But when we quit fighting our sadness, when we make room in our hearts for something else, that's when we might find ourselves surprised by happiness. Another thing we might want to consider when we think about what contributes to our happiness is love. Love is fundamental to happiness, and we are most happy when we live a life of love and when we can relate to each other in a caring way. And when we are willing to give our love to others freely, the kind of unconditional love that reaches out and touches the world with grace and kindness, the type of love that centers our Unitarian Universalist faith, then we can experience abundance of happiness. And so in our pursuit of happiness without love, our pursuit would be in vain. And if our pursuit of happiness consists of pursuing the materialistic trapping of life, which we measure our success, well-being, or self-worth, then we truly would never be happy. Often those materialistic definitions of happiness would struggle to maintain happiness because they would purchase happiness on credit and then become very unhappy when the bills come due in increasing amounts. So only when we are willing to reach out beyond our personal happiness, when we are willing to give ourselves in service to others, when we show compassion and care for others, not only when we nourish our souls, but we also nourish the souls of others. And when we are willing to uplift the spirits of our siblings in the beloved community with random acts of kindness, we can find true, authentic happiness. Because how we treat each other with compassion, kindness, generosity, and love is where we may find true happiness. And beloved, that is the kind of happiness that will endure to the rest of our lives. May this be so.
We strive for happiness, it's true, for pleasure, satisfaction too. When techniques fail which we employ, we find ourselves surprised by joy.
June is Pride Month, and when we in this sacred community celebrate, embrace, and support our LGBTQ siblings, in this month and throughout the year, we honor the resilience, the diversity, and love that the LGBTQ community brings. We reaffirm our commitment to creating a welcoming and inclusive space for all. May this Pride Month be a time of unity, visibility, and empowerment, and may we honor the rights, experiences, and identities of all LGBTQ individuals. Together, let us continue to advocate for justice and equality and full inclusion of every person, celebrating the beauty of our shared humanity. And I want to thank Dave White and Jamie Merlin for gifting to the congregation the pride flag that you see hanging in the window facing the courtyard. Annual meeting is right after the service, so I invite you all to go to the President Hall to grab some snacks before you come back for the meeting. Denise, what time you think we'll start? 12:30. Okay, so be on time, please. We're not herding cats this morning. All right, I hear 12:15, I hear 12:30. I'm listening to the president. All right. Please rise, beloved, as I give the benediction. As we leave this gathered community, we don't leave our connections to each other. So may your day be blessed by moments of quietness, light in your darkness, strength in your weakness, grace in your humility, joy in your gladness, peace in your stillness. May your day be blessed. And let us sing our closing hymn, 346. Come sing a song with me. See you at 12:30.
Well, thank you, thank you.